Hello there, and welcome. Come close, gather round, because our story begins on a morning so bright and cold it felt like the whole world was made of pure magic.
You see, a deep hush had fallen overnight, and when the sun finally peeked over the horizon, it revealed a world completely transformed, just nestled under this soft, thick blanket of new snow. The tree branches were drooping, heavy with what looked like sparkling diamonds, and the air was just filled with the thrilling promise of the very first TinyBenTV Sled Race.
And in his warm, cozy bed, our little bear's eyes fluttered open. His heart wasn't just pounding, it was fluttering with absolute joy, like a happy little bird. Today was the day. He scrambled over to the window, his warm breath fogging up the chilly glass as he looked out.
Just then, his mother appeared in the doorway, and her voice was as warm and comforting as a hug. "Good morning, my dear," she murmured so softly. "Today is the big day."
With a happy little wiggle, Little Bear started to get ready. His mother helped him into a coat as yellow as the morning sun and a snug blue hat pulled down over his ears. And into his backpack, she lovingly placed a thermos of steaming hot chocolate, her famous apple cookies, and an extra pair of gloves, just in case. And there, leaning by the door, was the most important thing of all, his shiny, heroic green sled. Stepping outside was just like stepping into a dream. The snow made this wonderful, crisp, crunch-crunch sound underneath their boots. And waiting for them was the special TinyBenTV bus, painted with bright, cheerful pictures of all the friends in town. Tucked inside the warm bus, Little Bear just gazed out the window, completely mesmerized. "Mom, isn't it beautiful?" he whispered, full of awe. His mother stroked his head so gently. "Yes, my sweet, snow makes everything feel like a fairy tale." Before they knew it, the bus came to a gentle stop. And when the doors opened, Little Bear gasped. They had arrived. And the race area. It wasn't just a starting line. It was a whole winter festival. Flags of every color imaginable danced in the breeze. Incredible sculptures, all carved from snow, stood like silent, friendly guardians. The sweet smell of hot milk and cookies drifted from little stands, and the winter sun made thousands of tiny little rainbows glitter all across the snow. Over by the starting line, Little Bear saw his friends. There was White Rabbit, carefully checking the laces on his speedy blue sled, a fluffy white scarf tucked right up to his chin. And there was Fox, beaming in a cozy red Christmas sweater, his own red sled polished so brightly it literally reflected the sky. Fox was just practically bouncing with excitement. He cupped his paws around his mouth and shouted in this big, cheerful voice, "Is everyone ready?" And his energy was just so contagious. A little ripple of excited chatter went all through the crowd. And then a hush fell over everyone as the announcer, a very wise old owl, cleared his throat. The racers took their positions. The moment was finally here. The owl's deep voice echoed across the snow. 3. Everyone watching held their breath all at once. 2. Paws tightened their grip on their sleds. Hearts were thumping. 1. Start! And with a mighty push, the three friends launched themselves down the hill, kicking up this magnificent spray of sparkling, powdery snow. Oh, what a sight! Down the first slope they flew, Little Bear and White Rabbit gliding perfectly, almost side by side. Fox was just a whisker behind, his clever eyes scanning for any chance to pull ahead. And the sound of cheering and the joyful ringing of bells from everyone watching just filled the air. The finish line was now in sight, shimmering way off in the distance. The race was closer than it had ever been. And then, in a single heartbeat, everything changed. So close to the end, White Rabbit's sled hit a hidden bump under the snow. It just flew into the air, sending poor White Rabbit tumbling into a soft snowbank right next to a big pine tree. And just like that, the cheering stopped. A gasp just rippled through the crowd. Fox, so focused on the finish line, zipped right past the scene. But Little Bear, he saw his friend fall. And in that one moment, the race, the trophy, the cheering, it all just vanished from his mind. He had to make a choice. Digging his heels into the snow, Little Bear steered his sled to a stop and rushed right over to his friend. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice so gentle with worry. White Rabbit sat up, shaking snow from his ears. But then his little nose began to twitch and his eyes filled with tears. My sled, he sniffled. It's broken. Little Bear looked at his friend's sad little face, and then he looked at his own perfect green sled. And without another word, he gently helped White Rabbit up and guided him to sit on the front of his sled. He looked right at his friend with a warm smile and said, "It doesn't matter. It's more important that you are okay."
And what happened next was something the town would talk about for many, many winters to come.
Now, Fox had already finished, of course, but all eyes were on Little Bear as he pushed his green sled with White Rabbit sitting right on board the rest of the way. And as they slowly crossed that finish line together, a brand new kind of cheer rose up from the crowd. It wasn't a cheer for a winner. It was this deep, warm roar of love for a true friend. At the ceremony, Fox was presented with the shiny first-place trophy. He held it up for a moment, but then he turned to Little Bear. In a loud, clear voice, he announced, "The real champion today is Little Bear. He taught us what truly matters." He offered the trophy to his friend, but Little Bear just gently shook his head. "No," he said softly, "this is everyone's trophy." And so the three friends, Fox, Little Bear, and White Rabbit, all put their paws on that trophy and lifted it high in the air all together. On that magical winter day, they all learned something so very important. Winning a race is a wonderful feeling, but choosing friendship, well, that is the most beautiful victory of all.
See you in another story. Goodbye. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to be notified of the next story.